Hey everyone, Matt Straub here with the Rotoworld basketball crew, Tommy Beer, Ryan Canal, Steve Alexander. We are bringing you our predictions for the upcoming NBA season. Gentlemen, let's start. Who do you think will be the top seeds in each conference?
I don't know exactly who's going to be the top seeds, but in the West, I really like what the Nuggets are doing and have done. You know, Nikola Jokic, one of the most dominant players in the league. Jamal Murray's young. They've got Millsap. They've just got a lot of talent. They're also deep. I think the Clippers are going to be really good with Kawhi Leonard and what they've done. Utah Jazz are going to be there. Those are probably my top three teams in the West. In the East, I kind of like the Sixers. I think this is kind of the year that Joel and Ben Simmons put it all together, make splash. I know a lot of people like the Bucks to repeat. Malcolm Brogdon is on some of our breakout lists and whatnot. And then the Indiana Pacers and Boston Celtics are both going to be good. So those are kind of the teams I think are going to shake out in the end.
I'll take the Bucks all day in the East, and I'm with you. I think the Clippers are easily the favorite in the West, right? With Kawhi and Paul George, their defense is going to be ridiculous. Teams are just going to struggle to score, and especially, you know, if they earn that top seed and then get in the playoffs, they're just going to lock down that much more. So I think they're the team to beat in the West.
Do you think the Clippers, are you worried about Paul George's dual shoulder surgery and Kawhi Leonard's load management?
From a fantasy perspective, yes. And I think there will be stretches where they take it easy on those guys, maybe scale back minutes, give them a couple nights off. But I think the Clippers are deep and talented enough to overcome that without, they're not just going to tank in the standings like the Lakers did when LeBron went out last year, say, if they're missing Kawhi for a week or two. So I think they have all the talent and depth to do it.
I mean, you talk about the Clippers, Pat Beverly, Kawhi Leonard, and Paul George as trying to score on those dudes it's not going to be fun. I think obviously the Clippers are in the conversation. I think the Lakers are definitely going to be involved. One team Steve did not mention, the Rockets. We kind of forget them because they've been around for a while. Obviously, it'd be fascinating to see kind of the experiment with Westbrook and James Harden out there. As far as the East, I think it's the Bucks and the Sixers at a tier, and then just a very, very sharp. There's off a cliff. Whether you want to talk about the Pacers or the Celtics, I just don't see any other team challenging either of those. I think those two, Bucks and 76ers, are going to fight it out for the top spot, and then the rest of it's just going to be a jumbled mess.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
I've got the Bucks ahead of the Sixers, not because of talent necessarily, but I just wonder, can Joel Embiid be ready to go and be at full strength at the right time of the season? I mean, he's a phenomenal player, but you worry about him being worn down at the wrong time of year.
Muscle watch, he lost 25 pounds so this summer, so no player's ever done that before. So that must mean he's absolutely ready to dominate the league.
Right,
But obviously, yes, the concerns, if he stays healthy, I think he's the X factor. And will Ben Simmons shoot a three-pointer this season? We'll see.
All right, so who do you think is winning the MVP this season, fellas? Who's your MVP pick?
I'm going to go back with Giannis again. I think Giannis Antetokounmpo wins MVP. He's the best player in the league right now. You could make a case for a bunch of other guys, but he's just so dominant. And what he does is both ends of the court. That's the thing. He was second in Defensive Player of the Year voting last year, narrowly lost to Rudy Gobert, and he ran away with MVP. James Harden wasn't even close. So I think it would take a lot for Giannis to fall behind in this race.
I'm going with LeBron James. I think that, you take a player that's extremely talented and that is motivated to prove. He saw all the columns LeBron's done. He's finally over the hill. Listen, I understand he only played 55 games last year. The year before he played 82. And for a 10-year stretch, he had played into June and with the Olympics. And finally, for the last, 5, 6, 7 months, he's had off. Recharge, refresh, come back angry, ready to prove a point. Talented squad. Obviously, Anthony Davis is one of the 5 or 6 best other players in the league. I think the Lakers are going to have a very good record, and I think that LeBron has one more fantastic, great year in him. I think we've been writing him off for a while, and I think that's only going to increase now that he had that down season. I think he's going to come back in a big way, make a statement, say, I'm still the best player on the planet, and here's why, night in, night out, MVP caliber season.
I wish I had researched the oldest MVP in NBA history. I feel like LeBron at 35, maybe?
I think it's Karl Malone at 34, the year he won.
So LeBron would do it if he did it this year.
I believe
And
so.
if the whole MVP thing doesn't work out, he's got Taco Tuesday.
True. Patented.
I've got Steph Curry. I feel like Steph Curry could have a James Harden last year type of season this year. No Kevin Durant, no Klay Thompson. We all know when Steph gets in the zone and starts hitting threes, no one can stop him. And it's going to kind of be his show this year. Now, I think the Warriors have to make the playoffs. The Warriors have to be a good team for him to win MVP because, as we've seen, you have to have a really good team to get the MVP award. You have to play for a really good team. So that's the big concern with Curry, but monster season is coming. If his teammates can keep up with him, look out.
So I'm being told it's Karl Malone, age 35, so LeBron could
There you
tie
go,
it.
tie him.
And Steve, I'm actually pretty disappointed in your MVP pick because it's the same as mine.
Oh, no.
I'm all in on Curry. I mean, can you just, the numbers I think are just going to be freakish.
Yeah.
We're going to see vintage stuff. It's going to be so much fun. I think the Warriors make the playoffs with a reasonably high seed, and he is so overwhelmingly good that everyone's hearts and minds are swayed, are won over. The media is just going to be loving it. I'm going to be loving it. It's going to be a feel-good story.
I cannot wait to watch Steph Curry unleashed without the specter of Kevin Durant and not even Clay on the floor, even though he loves him, just to go back to the MVP. You know, again, he's the last time, he's the first ever unanimous MVP. So I can't wait to see him shoot 23 pointers tonight. My concern, again, is that when's the last time we can have the stat checkers check, when's the last time somebody won an MVP with a 44-win team or a team that won less than 45-ish games? That's going to be
I take the over. I take
take
the
over on 45?
I think that they, in Kerr I trust. In Kerr and Curry I trust.
See, I don't have them having home court advantage in the playoffs either,
Right.
so I'm with you. I don't think the win total will quite be there.
And Kerr just rolls the ball out there, right?
Hey, it's a great strategy. Now, like it or not, guys, California is kind of the center of the basketball universe. So let's answer this question: which is the better LA team?
Again, I'll go with the. I understand probably the odds-on favorite to win the championship this year is the Clippers, but I think the Lakers, again, with the narrative of the LeBron revenge season, Anthony Davis. I don't think people understand just how good this player is. He's kind of playing under the radar in New Orleans. Obviously, didn't have a lot of nationally televised games. The world's going to get to see. Obviously, a lot's going to depend on his health, but the world is going to get to see a truly dynamic, outstanding, versatile player. Shoot threes, block shots. This guy can do it all. I'm a little bit concerned with how they fleshed out the roster, but I think there's some good pieces there. Avery Bradley, I think, set up for a nice little bounce-back season. Kyle Kuzma is a possible third wheel. JaVale McGee was better than people want to give him credit for last season. Dwight Howard's a major, question mark. But I think if everything goes well, they have the ability to be better than the Clippers.
That's what I'll take the Clippers for that reason. They do need everything to go well. Because I'm with you. Anthony Davis, a spectacular player. Defensively, he could be right at the top defensive player of the year. LeBron with a bounce-back year, completely feasible. But they have so many other moving parts that last year just did not click. And now they're trying to overhaul. They brought back a lot of the same crew. You're relying on Kyle Kuzma to take that next leap and be more than just a scorer. So I'm not totally sold there, and I think the Clippers just have Kawhi and Paul George defensively are going to be ridiculous. They can both create their own shots. They've got depth at point guard. They've got a pretty good front court depth actually now with Zubats and Montrezl Harrell. So they just are the total package to me.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel really bad for Kyle Kuzma because if Anthony Davis didn't show up for the Lakers this year, Kuzma would be on everybody's sleeper list. He'd be looking for a breakout season, and now he's just sort of a guy playing behind the best player in the league, and that makes me kind of sad for Kuzma. But getting back to the topic at hand, I've got the Clippers. Kawhi Leonard. Despite load management, I think Kawhi Leonard did, we talk about what a great defensive player. Patrick Beverley, great defense. Everybody on that team plays defense. Montrezl Harrell, who you mentioned, I think is a super underrated center. They've got Zubac there. I just like everything that's going on for the Clippers, as long as Kawhi gets to play.
I have a chance to tie the score here, but sorry, Tommy, I'm gonna stick with the Clippers. A name we haven't mentioned is Doc Rivers, phenomenal coach. Lou Williams with Harrell off the bench. I think that's just a killer team, and it would not surprise me to see them in the finals. Deep, my comment? Deep.
Your
deep
comment
team.
was deep, and so is the team.
All right, fellas, another big storyline heading into the season. As you may have heard, Russell Westbrook and James Harden are reunited in Houston.
Wait,
this is
I
true.
didn't hear that.
What's your feeling on how do you see this playing out?
Fascinated. I think like most of us, last 3 years, top 2 players in usage rate, James Harden, Russell Westbrook. Last year, top number of touches in the league, James Harden, Russell Westbrook. Number of minutes held per game, James Harden, Russell Westbrook. Now those 2 guys are on the team together. I'm skeptical that it'll turn out well. I think Westbrook was trending in the wrong direction. He's a guy that really relies on his athleticism. He's past the 30-year-old mark. I think he's going to be 31 at the start of next season. So that back end of that contract really worries me. But even before then, he was very inefficient last season, shooting below 30% from three-point land. You know what James Harden's going to bring to the table. I'm just worried about defensively how that duo is going to handle themselves.
Tommy's stepping all over my points because I completely agree. The defense is the big issue for me. And then I had a lot of the same stats. They were 4th and 2nd in touches per game. They were 1st and 3rd in time of possession, all those numbers. And something has to give there. These guys can't both have the ball all game. And they're used to that. So how do they adjust their game? Who's playing point guard on any given possession, and can the other one play effectively as an off-ball guard and then hustle back and play defense? They're used to giving 100% on offense for their teams and then kind of getting covered a little bit. Now they don't have that luxury. So, yeah, it's going to be, I think the learning curve is going to be a little steeper than a lot of people think.
And I feel like this is a good kick over to me because you guys covered all the numbers like you always do. And I'm here to say, well, what about the locker room? And what about the huddle? And what about the looks that they're giving each other? And what about how are those two going to share the ball when both of them are triple-double threats every night? Both of them do everything they can to rack up as many stats as they can, and they're going to be out there just eating into each other's cabinet. I feel like if you're a Westbrook guy, you're still a Westbrook guy. Like if you like Russell Westbrook, and even if we're talking fantasy or reality, and you're probably going to stick with Russell Westbrook. Same as Harden. I don't think either one of them is going to fall off a map, but it's going to be, like you said at the beginning, so interesting to watch this unfold.
I have an extreme appreciation for both guys, what they do. Like Harden, his skill level's phenomenal. I get frustrated with some of the things he gets away with on the court in terms of traveling and things like that. Westbrook, the effort is just unbelievable, just his motor. I think this pairing is just a complete disaster.
We're on the same page.
And I also don't want to watch it. It's not the kind of basketball I like to watch. I don't like iso ball, so watching Harden, dribble for 20 seconds and then jack up a shot is not my idea of fun. Again, I appreciate their games. I think it's a disaster. Imagine being PJ Tucker. You're just sitting in the corner, wonder if the ball is coming this way, this possession.
It's not.
Yeah, last year without Westbrook, he had a usage rate under 10%, which was one of the only players in the league with single-digit usage who got reliable minutes.
Can someone get Carmelo Anthony to Houston for me, please?
They tried.
Add him to that mix.
That'll be fun. Yeah.
All right, so, fellas, the process in Philly, do you guys think it's going to pay off this season? Is this the year?
I will say it's already paid off to some extent. I mean, you talk about Philly, now they're a threat to knock off the Bucks for the top seed in the East. They're always in the playoffs. They could, if Embiid is healthy at the right time, maybe they win a championship. Maybe, Ben Simmons has another level to get to. And most franchises would be derailed if you drafted Markelle Fultz and he did nothing for you and you ended up just having to trade him away. The Sixers took it in stride and they're still here. They had the flexibility to bring in Jimmy Butler. That didn't work. Okay, he's gone. And they bring in Al Horford. So I think they've done a really good job to give themselves flexibility, young stars that they've developed, and then jettisoned the one who didn't. And so, yeah, I think the process has already worked.
It bothers me that people. I think it's a great. First of all, it's a great argument to have in a bar or sports talk radio about tanking and the process, et cetera. The Dolphins are doing it this year. So we'll see how that plays out. But I am of the belief that your goal as a franchise is to win a championship. Not to almost make the 8th seed or not to be competitive. The goal is to put yourself in a position, the best position possible, to win a championship. And typically in the NBA, where that's so dependent on star players, you want to give yourselves as many bites at the apple at the top of the draft. And that's what the Sixers did. You have to sacrifice a couple of years. You may not, the play may not be all that encouraging. But listen, I think what the Knicks did should be outlawed. Forget about outlawing the process. When you invest in old veterans and you're always really bad, but not bad enough to be, get to the top of the lottery, but not good enough to even be competitive in a playoff series. So you either want to pick the worst place to be in the NBA is that no man's land. That 10th, 9th, 8th, seed in the conference. You either want to be really bad or really good. So I think the Sam Hinkie deserves a lot of credit and the Philadelphia, because we talked about it. There's two teams in the East really that we all feel only has a shot to advance, and that's one of the teams is the Sixers. So yes, I think the process already has paid dividends, and I think it will continue to do so. Yeah.
I'm worried about his legs. I'm worried about the injuries that have happened every single year. How many big men have we seen that are 7 feet tall that have foot problems that end their career early? Yao Ming. I mean, the list is endless. I'm worried about that, but as far as this coming season goes, with Ben Simmons and Tobias Harris and him and Al Horford all ready to go, I think the process does work out. I think Sixers have a real chance to win it all this year.
Well, you have to. I mean, I don't know how long is your window with Embiid. I mean, it's not a guy, and I don't want to be pessimistic, but it's not a guy I expect to be. Is he even going to be in the NBA 8 years from now, 6 years from now? You know, it feels like a guy who has a lot of mileage, a great player still, but he feels like, I don't know, he's not like in the upswing of his career. Like, this is the peak, I feel like. So you better get it done quickly.
I think that Horford signing makes sense in that respect, where they saw the win-now window, and he's definitely a win-now guy. I think that's a great piece they added.
Yeah, protect him, take some strain off him. Horford can play power forward. He can play center. So if Embiid needs to rest, now they don't have to fret about what do we do to win games without Joel Embiid. They know what they're doing. It's Al Horford.
Guys, Giannis Antetokounmpo, we've already seen him post massive numbers, take his team almost all the way. What is his ceiling individually to you guys as a player as we head into this season?
Ceiling is the roof. I don't think there is a ceiling. He's the type of player. He's a 6'11", maybe 7 foot by now. We can check tomorrow. He can play point guard, can play center. He can do it all. The thing he can't do is shoot. That's what's gonna make or break whether he will be. He's on path to become a first ballot Hall of Famer as is at the moment. Does he become a top 10 player of all time, a top 5 player of all time? I think that is in the cards. That is on the table. Can he become if he can shoot 35% from three, if he can ever become an average and/or above average long-range shooter, because teams are going to slack off, they're going to go under picks. That's really the only thing stopping him from. If he's already unstoppable, then him becoming Thanos, completely unstoppable. So I have no doubt that he'll put in the work. Can we see it manifest itself on the court? I think is the only question.
3-point shooting, the final Infinity Stone.
Exactly.
Yeah, there you go. Which I think it is, frankly. To your point, if he can hit three-pointers, he's unguardable.
Yes.
Because 2 dribbles and he's at the rim. And his finishing ability is second to none. Yep. And he's already Defensive Player of the Year type material. What else can this guy put into his game to make his team better? He's a great passer. They just showed the stats, and his stats get better and better every single year in the league. He's adding stuff to his game. He played for FIBA this year, so you could tell his knee is healthy. Otherwise, he would have sat out international competition. He's got it all. And with a three-pointer in his bag, it's Thanos. It really is.
He did get dominated by an old man in FIBA, though, and the coach was talking smack, and Giannis has had the knee issue. So right. There's some weirdness out there surrounding the guy that just won the MVP award. Like I feel like, I don't even know how to put this in words, but I feel like things don't feel like he's just still soaring up. I feel like we've sort of leveled off for a minute, and we're going to have to see what happens this season. But, I mean, just like Tommy said, I have written down the roof is the ceiling for this guy. I mean, it's as high as you can go. If he starts hitting threes, it's over. It's already kind of over. He's incredible. I love Giannis.
26% on threes last season. Like you said, if he can get to – he is guardable only in the sense that that's the way to stop him is sag off of him. If you have to run,
they built the wall.
Yeah, that's what they did.
Dared him to shoot.
You have to run out at him or even inch out at him or even think about it. He's by you already. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. We saw 28 points a game last year. Like, he could easily be over 30 this year. He's been on the upswing in points, rebounds, assists. Zion Williamson, guys, as you may have heard, has been discussed by some in basketball circles. What are your expectations for the #1 pick this season?
My expectations are a little bit lower than most. I think defensively he's going to come in and make an impact. He could be one of the best help side defenders in the NBA day one. He just has that type of explosion, athleticism, skill. He's a good basketball IQ if you watch him at Duke. His ability to see the floor and come over as the weak side defender. So I think defensively he'll be right out of the gates. And in transitional offensively, we know the guy can jump over anybody faster than the players he's guarding against. My concern is when the half-court offense slows down. Is he, we talk about a guy that's going to be able to knock down shots. Is he going to be able to make jumpers? Is he going to be able to trust his three-point shots? A little wonky. He has a low release, which may lead to some block shots. So I'm just not sure how that's going to play itself out. And the other thing, obviously, as NBA fans, let's hope he stays healthy because the guy, we've never seen a player of his dimensions, 6'7", 280. He's basically, Oliver Miller's weight, and and Sean Kemp's leaping ability. So it's just it'll be fascinating to see how it plays.
Retro shout-outs there, Tommy. I love it.
like Sonic.
And into the I like the Kemp shout
There you
out.
go.
And you're right. And the 82 game grind on a body like that and his style of play of just attack, and he's everywhere on defense. He doesn't take possessions off. So how much strain does that put on his body, and can he make it through? And the Pelicans have been very careful to say, we still consider this Drew Holiday's team for now. We're not gonna, they're not crowning him the savior of the franchise. They want to ease him in as much as possible. I mean, he's still going to have sky-high expectations, but I don't think he'll be asked to do everything for this team. So
I feel like there's very few guys who have come into the NBA with as much hype as Zion Williamson is coming in. The one guy I can think of is LeBron James. And no one ever lives up to the hype except for LeBron James and Tiger Woods. They're like the only two guys who have ever come in with such high expectations and actually exceeded it. It's really hard to do that. And Zion, whether they're saying they're giving him the torch now or later, the fans are giving him the torch. He knows he's got the torch, and he's super hyped. So I worry about him living up to the hype a little bit. As far as his weight, as far as all that goes, Charles Barkley was pretty big. When he was around Mount of Rebound, he was huge, he was massive, and I don't remember him ever being hurt. So I think it's possible that he has a injury-free NBA career, especially with load management and all that. But I'm a little worried about his weight, and I'm a little worried about the hype going to his head. Now he's been paid a lot of money. It's different. He won the lottery. So let's see how he comes out.
You don't remember Barkley getting hurt. I don't remember him jumping really necessarily. So
early on.
Yeah, well, very different players.
I find myself looking at Zion's jump shot from different angles. I'm like, well, it doesn't look that bad from over here. But then I'm like, ooh, ouch. I think there's a real possibility that he doesn't, go off on the level that people are expecting, but he still has a very solid season, and that would be my expectation.
Shot a good percentage at Duke. To be fair to him, he shot better than Cam Reddish and R.J. Barrett from downtown. So, but the small sample size, well, that being said.
I feel like, does he average 17 points, and it's actually a very good rookie season, but people are a little disappointed.
True.
I think that's very possible.
Do you think Rookie of the Year in the bag for Zion?
I mean, I think he comes in with such an advantage. If he's putting on a highlight reel every night and puts up pretty good numbers, I think he's got it.
Yeah, I think it's a two-man race between Zion and Ja Morant.
Yeah.
Morant's going to get a ton of minutes too, so he might have the advantage in terms of, counting stats, which is obviously very important.
Yeah, I love Morant too.
Yeah.